Why would you choose to be gay and be lonely? Who are you gonna find? And if you're gonna find someone, I bet it's gonna be some old white guy. That was definitely my mom's fear. She was just so convinced that I was not gonna find someone because I was gay. Like, there's so many nice girls out there. Like, you could be married right now and not be lonely. Before we got married, she was like, is he for real? Is he serious? Are you guys serious? Like, how did you find this person? I thought you were the only one. She was just incredulous. And then when we got married, she was like, oh, okay, this is for real now. And she got so relieved. She was like, okay, just make sure you don't fuck it up.
I think like Western colonization, especially by white gay men in countries with people of color, is problematic. It makes me think a lot of like the sex industry that exists in Southeast Asia. It's not something that I think is the most virtuous aspect of what we do as queer people outside of our own communities. Like sex tourism, abuse, sexual abuse, that's not just being gay. That's also being economically or socially, you know, abusing your power. Those kind of experiences, I think, can shape and frame people's understanding of who gay people are, especially if those are the only kind of gay people you're seeing. If those are the people that are made visible and have the power because they have the money or the status or the right kind of skin color to dominate situations, like that's really doing a huge disservice. I think it's really fascinating because in Korea, it became legal in the 90s for people to identify as transgender. So being transgender has been something that's been accepted in Korea for a very long time. But actually, lawmakers cannot discuss homosexuality because speaking about sex in general is so taboo that to actually legalize and discuss sexual preferences and sexual orientation is still not possible in like public forums and legal bodies. I remember when we first started dating, and even till now, being the first male-born sons of our families, we actually were raised and taught to carry a lot of familial responsibilities. In Confucianism, the first male son is the one who takes care of the parents, who worships the ancestors, who hosts the worship of the ancestors. Like, we do this at Danny's home with his family. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what Danny's supposed to do. And I remember as we were planning our wedding and I was having these conversations with my family, I remember telling them, I know I'm breaking away from tradition, and I think that's one of the things I'm most sorry about. The fact that like you won't see me as the one that's going to be doing this or that. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can't or don't want to. It's just that that wasn't the way they were seeing this. Our marriage has actually been about delaying having kids. Like, we both want and yet never think about actually doing it, you know, like we're not ready for a puppy, you know. And like, and there's actually like a lot of other things, you know, that are, I think, meant to be discussed more thoroughly. From a queer standpoint, like, is monogamy really part of our thing, you know? Like, what about open marriages? Like, every married couple that I've spoken to is in an open relationship. There's like all of these permutations to what could happen to like a marriage that doesn't fit into the traditional way a marriage is supposed to function from an Asian context. And then also maybe not necessarily the queerest definition of marriage because it's all open, you know what I mean? Like, it's all to be defined and you make of it what you want it to be, you know. That's our freedom.
At least for our parents, right? And for our extended family. Even though, like, if you look at it anthropologically, like, the social institution of marriage and just same-sex love as just like sexual desire that's outside of marriage, those two worlds colliding is very painful for a lot of Asian communities. At the same time, though, for our parents at least, marriage was the way for them to understand our relationship. Like, they didn't understand what it meant to be
homosexual,
attracted to someone of the same gender, But the minute we got married, they were like, well, at least now you're married. We understand what marriage is. We know what it looks like. We know what you're going to do. We know what you're supposed to behave, how you're supposed to behave, how you're supposed to carry about your day. They suddenly understood our relationship because it was a marriage and they knew marriage.
I think like a lot about our lives has changed for the better since we got married because it codified our homosexual orientation into something that wasn't about sex, that was about other things that people could understand, like just what it's like to be in a relationship and in a marriage without having to talk about what you do in bed.
As a gay couple, you know, like again, that whole like we have to question everything and make conscious choices. It was really important for me to sort of maintain my autonomy. And autonomy is this like very special word. Autonomy is like, I'm part of this relationship, but I still have my freedom to pursue my own desires and passions and life goals in conjunction with this marriage. Kyoung has his own autonomy. Like, autonomy is very important to me. At the end of the day, I want to be in a happy relationship that sort of supports joint goals as well as like individual goals. And when we talk about Kyoung's art and finances, I always say, I married you because you're an artist. If you weren't an artist anymore because of financial reasons, then that would be really sad for me. Like, I want you to be able to make your art and pursue your dreams. For me, marriage is an experiment. It's an experiment in questioning and answering all those assumptions society has about marriage. And answering those questions, we sort of forge the path ourselves. I don't think we're setting an example for other queer relationships. We're still very much experimenting, and I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck it means to be married. Because we talk a lot about like, if we're married, shouldn't we work together? Like, shouldn't we have the same career in the same company? And I'm like, no, we can do completely different jobs and still be married. I am my own person, you're your own person. How do we preserve our autonomy in a marriage? That's what's important to me. Being in a queer marriage.
Be a part of the Aman experience by subscribing to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Tumblr, and Facebook at Adomako for more content.